everyone, and welcome to BookTrib's 15 Minutes with, a Merrill Moss Media production. Today we are thrilled to welcome back award-winning author of romance and romantic suspense, Terri Reed. She's written a number of love-inspired suspense books, the Northern Border Patrol series, the K-9 Unit series, a bunch of others. I know you all know them very well and love them. This month, Terri released Guardian, which is a love-inspired suspense novel in the classified K-9 Unit series. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming back and chatting with us. We're excited to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me here today. This is exciting.
Absolutely, Terri. So tell me a little bit about Guardian, which I have right here. Very exciting. Tell us what's happening in the story, and does this fall into the series in any way? Any kind of, series order? What characters are we meeting? Give us kind of everything.
Okay, well, this is the first book in the continuity series.
Okay.
Well, actually, there was a prequel where you were introduced to the characters in Agent in Training, which came out in March.
Okay.
It was an online read only. So this is the first book, and we follow Agent Leo Gallagher and his trusty dog, True, who's a chocolate Labrador, who's on the cover, and he's so cute. They go to Wyoming to question a witness who saw a body being dumped in the river. And when they get there, they realize that she and her son are in danger. And so, of course, my hero, being a hero, has to stay and protect her when he really wants to go off and help search for one of his missing team members.
Of course.
But he does the right thing and protects the heroine.
Of course. So, when you mentioned the continuity of it all, where does that fall in the K-9 series, or are they all standalones? Is it in a big grouping? Should they be read in order?
So a continuity is each book has its own suspense plot, but there's an overarching plot of suspense that runs through all the books, and each book has a little bit of a clue that builds on the next book's clue until the end, when the last author gets to wrap it up and do the big aha moment. So this book is book one of the overarching. So it's really good to read them in order, otherwise the clues won't make sense. If you're especially if you're one who likes to follow along and tries to solve it before the author does.
Of course. Absolutely. Okay, so that's helpful. And for those who don't know, on terrireed.com, you can find that whole reading list. It's a PDF version, downloadable. You can check off as you go. It's perfect and very helpful. You've written a lot of books for Love Inspired, as I've mentioned, and for different series too, but whatever it might be, what keeps you inspired to kind of write these particular stories, and what do you love about, continuing with this Love Inspired series?
I like the fast pace of the suspense books, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about writing for Love Inspired suspense.
Okay.
I love heroes who are alpha, but yet can be sensitive, and yet can let the heroine be a heroine, and the heroine who can be tough, but yet kind and compassionate, who can let the hero be a hero. Mm-hmm. I've written contemporary, I've written some historicals, I've written for the suspense, and the reason I keep going back to the suspense part of it is the action, the adventure. It's so much fun to take my hero and heroine on these grand, adventures that we really wouldn't face in real life. At least I would hope we wouldn't face. Our law enforcement people do face them, and I so admire them for that. And I've done so much research into law enforcement in the various different aspects of K-9 officers, sheriff's deputies, patrol officers, FBI agents. And I have such respect, and I really like to hope that my books paint them in a good light, because they deserve our respect.
Absolutely. Well, they're wonderful, and that certainly comes across, so that is great. The genre of romantic suspense and romance, did you kind of just always know you were going to fall into that, or was it something you always enjoyed? How did it come about, I guess, in the beginning?
So, as a small child, I would make up stories and act them out for my grandparents. I have videotape of me doing this.
I love it.
And then just growing up all through grade school and high school, my teachers really encouraged my imagination. And in college, I had a creative writing class, and the professor told me, you should be writing for Harlequin. I was 21 at the time, and I thought, I could never do that. And it took me another 10 years, or, well, almost, I'm not going to say how many years.
Don't give it away.
Before I finally said, yeah, I really want to do this. And romance was what I read. It's what I love. Romance gives hope, and it takes us away from our everyday for just a little bit, and
Absolutely.
not as an escape so much as just as a relief, so that we can shore up ourselves and go back to the real world. And the romantic suspense, I love the action and adventure of it. So
yeah, it's really fun. Have you ever considered, as you've gone down kind of this road, is there a small part of you or a little voice that's always saying, what if I tried this, or maybe I could try this one day? Or is romantic suspense it for you? Is that the genre for you?
No, I definitely like to experiment in different genres. Okay. Contemporary, just, nice, sweet romances.
Right.
Historicals. I actually started out writing a historical.
That's right.
Back in the day, but this was before computers, and you had to go to the library to do the research, and I had a little tiny baby, and that wasn't happening. So I love historicals, and I would love to do some more historicals down the road sometime. But the romantic suspense, it keeps me going, and it's kind of my wheelhouse, so I can do them pretty well and feel confident. Everything else I do, it's just like, I do that. And yes, I can. I just have to build in the time in my schedule to do it.
Absolutely. So I want to talk quickly also about Northern Patrol, because that's another wonderful series, which is the love-inspired series, if I'm correct with that.
Love-inspired suspense.
Love-inspired suspense. You had a release in October. It was Identity Unknown. Tell us a little about that series, that story, the characters that are in that particular story.
Well, the Northern Border Patrol series follows a task force that are protecting our northern border and between Canada and the U.S. And so there's 5 team members, and so there's 5 books, and each team member has their own book. The last book, Identity Unknown, was set at Christmas in a little beachside town in Maine, which I just fell in love with the research of Maine. So I'm going there in May. Yay.
Oh, good. My parents love it.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. But it follows a deputy sheriff who discovers a unidentified man washed up on the beach, and he has no memory of who he is. So they work together to try to figure out who he is while evading assassins who are trying to take him out before he can remember who he is.
Oh,
it's a really
the suspense.
Yes. And I just enjoyed writing that book so much.
Oh, that's wonderful. Is there something coming up for that series? And the next book is, how do you release? Do you release one right after the other, or do you like to release in multiple series at each year? Or
that is the last book in that series.
Okay.
I'm going to be starting a new series here going forward. I still haven't quite nailed down what it's going to be yet.
Okay.
So I can't really give any details of that yet.
But that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's always exciting at the beginning to do all the research and gather the information and start building the characters and the plot lines. And that's always the fun, very fun part.
How do you keep it all straight for your series, especially, K-9 has quite a bit in it, and just your love-inspired suspense in general has, quite the number of books. How do you keep the characters straight? Do you have a spreadsheet? Do you have note cards? How do you organize it all?
I'm very old school because I started writing before, Scrivener or,
Yeah.
the internet was just starting. So I have a binder and I print pages off and stick them in my binder, and I have note cards and I stick it in the binder, and I do a lot of handwriting, just pen and paper, especially in the beginning when I'm plotting out and building the characters, and I, hole punch them and put them in my binder. And so each has a binder. So I have a stack of binders that almost reach the ceiling.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Well, I would think that would eventually get, you'll need storage space at some point.
Yeah. I will admit I did about 5 years ago get rid of quite a few that have already had their time. But you never know. I every once in a while I'll get asked, about a character or something from one of the books, and I have to go back and look through those notes, and they're not on my computer. So,
all right.
So even though I took the ones out of the binder, they are paper clipped and they're in a box.
Okay, there you go. So I like this question because I know that we have a number of viewers who are either aspiring authors or new authors trying to get their book out there. What, for you personally, you seem generally for the most part to go the traditional publishing route. What about that that path have you really enjoyed the most for yourself? Because there's so many different options today on which way an author can go with their work. What about the traditional works for you?
I really appreciate the editing from both my editor and the senior editor and then the copy editor. And I really, I like having somebody else doing the cover. I get some input. Our art department is great at Harlequin. At least for me, they've been just fabulous. I love all my covers. Guardian is just adorable. And it's perfect. I mean, they used exactly what I asked. I wanted a big lab, chocolate lab, and a little tiny puppy, yellow lab, and on a river.
For those who haven't seen it, that's what she got.
So cute.
So cute.
And so I like that. For me, I would rather write than do the formatting and all that. And everybody keeps telling me it's hard, but I just want to write. And so, I mean, I do my part in the publicity promo part. I mean, I blog and do things like this. But mostly I really appreciate the relationship with my editors and the backing of the house.
Yeah. So, it's certainly, I've found for the most part, there's not one general answer. It's certainly kind of personally driven. And as you said, what you enjoy, what feels comfortable to you and that kind of thing. So yeah. And there's so many different answers, so many different reasons. So I like to ask it to see, what each individual author thinks about, what they've chosen and the path they've gone down.
Well, I highly respect those who can do it on their own or hybrid. It's a big feat, I think, and to make it successful is even bigger. And so kudos to them, but it's not my path.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a new series, which you're currently working on. What else for you can you kind of talk about for 2017 that maybe you have kind of coming down the pike or towards the end of the year, or what else is going on?
So in fall of 2017, I have a novella. It's a 2-in-1 book with Lenora Worth, who I absolutely adore. She was kind of my mentor when I was unpublished, so it's just so fun to be able to be doing this novella with her.
Absolutely.
And it's set in the same K-9 world as Guardian. Okay. And my novella follows FBI agent Tim Ramsey, who is has an arson. Well, he's an accelerant detection dog. Okay. And there's been a series of arson fires going on, and so it's up to them to find the culprit. And then they realize that the baker from their favorite bakery is being targeted, and of course Tim has always liked her, so so he's helping to protect her and try to find the culprit, and it ends up not being who they think it is.
Oh, exciting. And that sounds lovely. And so your novella and Lenore's will be in the same binding.
Yes, it'll be packaged.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So I guess before we kind of wrap up here, my last question, I think, would just be, as we mentioned, the aspiring authors, the new authors, is there any small tip that maybe you were given when you first started, or things that you've learned along the way that you can maybe share with our viewers? And even sometimes the smallest tip can help someone just starting out.
One of the biggest tips that I got was from Mariel Jensen, who also used to write for Harlequin.
Okay.
She said, crisis of confidence is normal. You just got to work through it. And for the longest time, I really struggled with that because I didn't believe that I had what it took. And I still struggle with that sometimes. I think as women, we tend to
question ourselves.
Yes, question ourselves, doubt our abilities. And so that was really good advice.
Absolutely.
Just, push through the crisis of confidence. And then my other tip that I always tell aspiring authors is learn your craft, be persistent, persevere, protect your work, and don't be married to your work. Be teachable.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love and you don't hear enough, I don't think, the protect your work angle. It's so important, and what you write and what is yours, and I think that sometimes authors get, especially new authors, get so swept up in what could be happening or the deal they might be getting that they kind of forget that they've got to look out for what their written word that they actually put down on the page.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think that's great. Thank you so much for that, and it's helpful. And Guardian, it's out now. It's out this month.
Yes.
Go grab it or pre-order it. It is available, and also, who can resist those dogs on that cover? So cute. Thank you so much, Terri, for joining us. This was lovely.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Oh, good. Absolutely. And hopefully we'll get to talk again soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Terri. Bye-bye, everyone.